Welcome back, everybody. My name is Tucker, and in today's video, I am talking about some NBA X Factor players for the Orlando restart bubble, because as we all know, things are going to be weird and they're going to be different in this bubble environment. And so if certain players manage to step up, it could make a huge difference for their teams, because things are going to be even more up in the air, especially in the postseason, than they've ever really been before without home court advantage and things like that. So we could see more upsets, and as a result, the players in this list could have a huge impact on how the rest of the season and the playoffs turn out. But really quickly before we get started, if you're enjoying this type of content, then consider subscribing. If you're one of those people that it just continues to pop up in your recommended every day when the video goes out, but you're not actually subbed, I'd recommend that you hit that button. It really does help out the channel a ton. And as always, if you're enjoying the content, leaving a like rating is a great way to let me know. And it also helps out the video as well. With that said, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so first up is a player on a team that I feel like is getting a lot of attention right now. And it's Kristaps Porzingis of the Dallas Mavericks. And the reason that the Mavs are getting a good amount of attention at the moment is because of how good they played offensively throughout the entire year, a borderline historic offensive rating paced throughout the season. And obviously a lot of that has to do with Luka Doncic, but also obviously the addition of Kristaps Porzingis, who didn't play for the team last year as a result of injury after coming over from New York via trade. And he is a player that can be a little bit on and off in this new environment in Dallas. He's had some good stretches. He's had some stretches where, you know, he's kind of struggling to adjust to the new normal there in Dallas, with him not being the guy and having to be there alongside Luka, and their chemistry continues to develop. But if he can be a player that is a true, very, very good number two option, an all-star caliber number two option, that changes a lot of things for this Mavericks team. Not only offensively with his shooting and his ability to space the floor, but also defensively with his ability to protect the rim, the length that he provides, and a little bit of mobility as well, whether he's playing at the 4 or more commonly for this team at the 5. And if he is playing well in Orlando, this Dallas team becomes that much more dangerous, and a team that I can promise you a lot of teams in the Western Conference are not going to want to play. And obviously, a lot of the success around Dallas in terms of the restart is going to be determined by how well Luka plays in his first postseason. But as Kristaps Porzingis is on another level as well, that makes a very, very dangerous Mavericks team that, as I said, I'm sure a lot of teams would not be very excited about playing. At number 2 now is a guy that I feel like I talk about almost more than any other player on my channel, and it's Ben Simmons. And there's been a lot of rumors about, you know, how Ben Simmons has been working on his jump shot, all the reps he's been putting in to continue to improve his three-point shot, and how maybe he'll break out that more once we get to the restart here in Orlando. And it's not necessarily just about the three-point stuff, but it all kind of comes together, right? It's about how good Ben Simmons is as a player, how difficult the fit in Philadelphia can be at times, their limited spacing as a team, the fact that he is non-existent as a spacer, and the fact that this is still an incredibly dangerous team in the postseason. They can be a very, very good defensive team, and once you have that in the playoffs, all it takes is a couple of good offensive games that are a little bit out of the norm for what you would typically do in the regular season, and all of a sudden you're pulling off upsets. And they're a relatively lower seeded team within the Eastern Conference as of right now, but they're a team that I could absolutely see making a conference finals run simply from a talent perspective, and Ben Simmons has a lot to do with that. Again, whether it's the three-point shot or not, or him just playing better and then that team playing better around him, that's an incredibly dangerous Philadelphia 76ers team. And if you're looking at a team that could potentially blow up the bracket on the Eastern Conference side, if Philly comes in as like a 5 or a 6 seed, they can absolutely do some damage in a team that I would be terrified of if I was any of the teams at the top of the Eastern Conference. There's always a possibility it goes badly, but they're definitely an X-Factor team, and Ben Simmons is an X-Factor player for them. Moving on to number 3 now, a similar thing to the Sixers, and it's Chris Paul of the Oklahoma City Thunder. And this is a Thunder team that, again, like these first 3 teams that we're talking about here, Dallas, Philly, and then Oklahoma City to a lesser extent, teams are not going to want to play those guys, and they're just not going to want to have to deal with the versatility and the depth that those teams bring to the table, and the top-tier gameplay that they can bring to the table when they're right and when they're healthy. And Chris Paul, if he stays healthy, is going to be a playoff monster. And there's all these, you know, things around Chris Paul about how, you know, he never really goes deep into the playoffs. But as a playoff performer, he's very, very good, and he's a really good fourth quarter closing type guard. He can hit a ton of shots down the stretch if you need him to in the mid-range, get into the rim, three-point shots, whatever. Chris Paul is a player that I feel confident in as you get down the stretch in the postseason when you really need a bucket or when you really need him to make a play. And that's something that not a lot of teams have throughout the playoffs. Yes, they have star players, but do they really have a guy that you can give the ball and say, okay, I know with a minute left, we really need a bucket. You're going to be able to get us one, and you're going to at least be able to get us a good look, whether it's for yourself or for a teammate. And that makes Chris Paul a very dangerous player, and that makes the Oklahoma City Thunder a dangerous team as well. So Chris Paul, another guy that maybe isn't thought of too much as an X factor, but definitely is for that Thunder team, a very dangerous Thunder team. At number 4 now, this is the only selection on this list that is not a player, and it's just the Rockets' small ball in general, because this was a huge storyline midseason when they traded away Clint Capella and they got Robert Covington, and they went incredibly small, the smallest team that we've ever seen in NBA history. And when it first started, it was like, oh, this is really successful, and then they started to fall off, and then the season was suspended. So we're still kind of waiting to see what exactly it's going to look like in the 8 games when they return, and then especially in the postseason, what it's going to look like. And are they going to throw a big out there at all when they potentially play against a team like the Nuggets and having to deal with Nikola Jokic? Or are they just going to go all in and say, okay, yeah, we're not going to be very good defensively at the 5, but offensively we're going to hit a ton of threes, and it's going to be difficult for teams to adjust? And how that impacts Russell Westbrook's production and his play, all of those things are going to be incredibly interesting to see. And it's another situation where, like, if the Rockets are right and they're hitting shots and the small ball thing is working, they can absolutely pull off some upsets and potentially make the conference finals with this roster, even though their current standing within the Western Conference doesn't really show that kind of potential for this team. I think this is a group that is going to get a lot of attention the closer that we get to the postseason, and you never really know what's going to happen with them. And that's really what this small ball thing has done for them, is it has provided them with the most variance in terms of their success from game to game of any team in the league, and it almost entirely depends on their shot making. And at their peak, when they're making shots, it's going to be very difficult to beat this Rockets team with the perimeter playmaking that they have and the spacing and some of the abilities that they do have defensively with guys like PJ Tucker, Robert Covington to match up with some of the better perimeter players in the league. But as we've also seen in the past, they can miss 26, 27 straight threes and have almost no chance of winning a game. So that level of variance is going to be incredibly interesting to watch and see how it develops. And that is the very definition of an X factor in the postseason, is how far it can go from either being a really successful group and team or being a really bad one with this small ball lineup. Second to last now is a player that's kind of gone back and forth on whether or not he's actually going to play, and it's Victor Oladipo. And he's returning from an injury, and it's been kind of up in the air if he is or is not going to play. But let's just, for the sake of this video, say that Victor Oladipo does decide to play. This Pacers team is really good. Malcolm Brogdon, Domantas Sabonis, they've got other guys on the perimeter that can shoot. They've got plenty of depth. They've got Miles Turner. And then when you throw Victor Oladipo in there as well, a guy that, even if the offense is a little bit rusty, can be an incredibly impactful defensive player. And if he comes back strong offensively, just adds another layer of perimeter playmaking. And that is a tough combination. What is a relatively wide open Eastern Conference, with the exception of the Milwaukee Bucks at the top of the conference. And again, like, if he comes back and he plays well, it's not going to be a group that teams are going to want to play. And they have had success in the past with Oladipo as the primary playmaker. And now with Malcolm Brogdon there, along with Domantas Sabonis as well, taking a leap this year, and Miles Turner, all the guys that I've talked about throughout this selection, that Pacers team gets really interesting. And I don't know if they're a conference finals type team, but they're at the very least going to be able to make some noise if they get a healthy Victor Oladipo back, making him a huge X factor in the Eastern Conference. And last up now is another guy that unfortunately we don't really know if he is or is not going to be able to play in the bubble at the moment, and it's Zion Williamson, of course. And we don't know if this team is even going to be in the postseason. They're going to get 8 games to try and catch up to the Grizzlies and other teams to try and get that 8th seed. He actually just left the bubble for some kind of family matter, and obviously I hope everything is going well for him there. But if he does return, his ability to lift up the rest of that Pelicans team is going to be a huge storyline. And how well he plays, especially if they make it to the postseason, they play someone like the Lakers in the first round, that's going to be a huge storyline. But I definitely think that he has the talent, he has the ability to do a lot of things for that Pelicans team. Now, I don't think that they're going to win their first round series or anything, but they definitely can win the 8th seed with Zion there. And more than anything, it's just going to be exciting to watch him play and to see what he has. And I hope that, you know, everything goes well with whatever's happening with his family and things like that, and he gets that taken care of first, obviously, before he comes back to the bubble, and that he stays healthy. But if he is there, that just adds another layer for other teams to think about and to deal with. And again, that's exactly what an X factor is, someone that can make a huge difference one way or the other, and I think Zion is certainly one of those players. And yeah, there you have it. That is going to be the end of today's video, and I thank you all very much for watching. Once again, my name is Tucker. If you missed any of my previous videos, then be sure to check out the boxes on screen. Thanks again, and I'll see you all next time.